Hi, my name is Jhordan Layne. I'm in the English department. I'm doing my PhD. My area of interest focuses on Jamaica, on Jamaican literature and religion and superstition, the way that's explored in various texts. My family moved from Jamaica to Canada when I was about three-ish. So I spent most of my time in Canada, but I grew up in a Jamaican household in a Jamaican family. It reflects on my academic journey it influences my journey very much because I originally, started my journey, I was in love with Caribbean literature and what that represented, a sort of unrootedness, and I had similar feelings in my life in Canada. And I wanted to explore that and learn quite a bit about that. And it seems that it's taken me quite far, that exploration, that self-exploration of what your roots mean and where they come from, and how you're going to make your life here. How you're going to make your life in the now. Well, the question changed originally because I was focused so much on the idea of home, and I talked a bit about the Caribbean diaspora, and my first big project, my master's thesis, talked about migration, the Windrush migration in Caribbean literature and in Black British literature. So that was originally where I started, but then I started discovering questions of religion, questions of how religion sort of plays into that shift, but also locally, talking about Jamaica specifically as opposed to in the diaspora or in stories of immigration and migration and exile. Queens gave me a space to do a lot of this literature. That's one of the best things about doing a graduate degree, is that the university basically says, here is your ticket to explore, to learn, and to evolve. Of course, there are stipulations, but that's been the best part of my academic journey here in Queens. I see that there's a lot of differences in the topics of research, a lot of seams in the different ways we approach discussions of race, nationality, citizenship, and so on. So there's a lot of differences in the department itself that are still being worked out and discussed. I find myself having a clear position here, but that's because I've cultivated this position through my research and through having a constant sort of or consistent presence. When it comes to the topics of research and things like that, it's easy to sort of discuss those things, but when it comes to being a person of color in a department or in an association or anything that's almost entirely composed of white people, it can be difficult to get across some ideas that are couched in things that they've never really experienced or never really understood, and that also puts you in a strange position where you have to sort of explain those positions. Why do you feel this way about certain things? You sort of have to do a lot of explaining, and that itself is kind of tiring and exhausting. And that's partly the reason why we started the Scholars of Color. Is those feelings of having to explain or having to justify our sort of reactions to specific things. I got some significant support from Queens MI or from my department mostly. As a Black intellectual, I think one of the biggest challenges in Queens, and it has been until quite recently, is the lack of Black faculty, a lack of expertise in areas concerning Blackness and race. And this is just starting to pick up now. There's new hires in both philosophy and English, in Black studies. Two brand new hires discussing this or willing to discuss these things. And so it feels a bit like we're a little bit behind. and there's a lot of catching up to do in that regard. But there's a lot of also pressure on black faculty, because literally any black student who's going through the process of completing their degree has to lean on that sort of on that support when it comes to specific challenges that concern blackness, challenges that concern not only the research but also the specific challenges that black students face when it comes to discussion in class, in lecture, among their peers, which is can be really taxing. Problem with the resources available to undergraduates, black undergraduate students, is that they're also doing most of the work when it comes to producing a community, support systems, and places where they can discuss and sort of negotiate how race plays into their lives on a daily basis. And let's not make any mistake about it. Race plays into our lives on a daily basis. And that's, one of the frustrations. And so they're producing these networks, and so that's an additional tax, additional work that they have to perform in order to keep their mental health, in order to keep the sensation or the feeling of community. And if they don't do that work, then they inevitably their academics, their lives suffer. So Scholars of Color is an initiative run by a couple of graduate students in Watson Hall. A lot of our humanities, a lot of the humanities departments are located in there. It's a bit isolated away from the university, but it's also a series of sort of departments that have often been primarily white, and it's also a place where new discussions of race and identity are really going on. And so we needed something to respond to some of our personal difficulties, while at the same time acknowledging that there's a lot of change, a lot of a new awareness happening in the humanities about how significant race and cultural identities play into culture. So that's part of one part of it is the community aspect, which is a community that we need to build inside our sort of isolated humanities sphere, and also we need that platform to discuss the new things that are going on with regards to cultural studies and culture and history and philosophy and all those topics that are concerning not only the topic of race, but also race in our daily lives as well.